Final word, Adam Collins and Geoff Lemon, and our IPL correspondent, Glenn Maxwell, fresh off the back of a man-of-the-match performance last night as RCB held on against Sunrisers Hyderabad. How you going, Maxie?
Going well. Good timing for this one.
It is. It is on a number of fronts. So you've had a good night on the field, but also you get to watch the Saints play in your hotel room today. Massive game against Richmond. That must be where most of your attention's focused at the moment.
Yeah, I made sure that they didn't plan any meetings today. Told Cato that I'm going to have the day off and make sure I'm concentrating on my Saints. We've got a team dinner later on as well, so I told him I could be in one of two moods tomorrow and or tonight, and hopefully it's a good one.
And Cato's a rabid Richmond supporter, so that just adds to it. Maybe you should drag him out and watch it together.
No, I don't want to put him through that. He might not play me the next game.
It's a particular contrast, like as a young man growing up in Australia supporting the Australian cricket team who wins everything, and then St Kilda at the same time. It's an exercise in extremes.
It certainly teaches you decent resilience being a Saints supporter. So I remember us winning. I think it was like a preseason cup in like 1998 or something like that, and I remember that being like a personal highlight to me, going, "Oh, that was amazing! Like, here we go." And then as you get older, you like realize the insignificance of that preseason cup, and so yes, wouldn't mind a proper premiership at some stage, but yeah, the heartache of that drawn grand final still lives very raw in my memory.
Yeah, you're on a roll. The '97 preseason cup. There was a ground invasion at VFL Park when you won it. I mean, it was like you'd won the whole thing. Did you go to any of those grand finals, be it '97 or 2010, 2009? Any of those did you get to?
No, I remember I watched the grand final with a couple of mates out in Belgrave, and I remember when the siren went for the draw, I just burst into tears because I knew we weren't going to win the following week. that was devastating. No, I would have loved to have got to a grand final. I'm pretty sure if we make another one, I'm going to do everything I can to get to it.
Oh yeah, it's totally worth it. I flew back a couple of times in 2012 where we lost. I mean, I've been to all of them. Lucky being a Hawthorn supporter in Sport for Choice, but in 2012 flew back and lost. In 2015, I was at Heathrow in a Cafe Nero watching the last term of the prelim, having booked a ridiculous flight home and sobbing in the cafe as we kicked clear in the last quarter, knowing that I hadn't just wasted $2,000 to get back to Australia. I was actually in the grand final.
That's so good. I hope to have a story like that at some stage. And yeah, but the heartache of being a Saints supporter, geez, it's hard work.
Yeah, it is. It is a rough story. One flag by 1 point. They can't take that one away from you. Let's talk about last night. You had some fun. It looked like hard work though last night. Like game one, it looked like you were having fun, and game two was like shovel work.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't. It didn't feel fun out there. I felt hopeless, and I think I was 9 off 16 balls or something like that, and just absolutely battling. And I suppose getting through the other side of that, I think in the past when I've taken that first risk, that's generally been my undoing. I suppose you look from the sidelines going, "Oh, do you need to take that risk?" And it's just one of those things. If you get away with that first big shot, you can get some momentum. And I was able to do that. I took a big risk against Nadeem, who was getting the ball to hold, and I was lucky enough to get it just over the fielder's head and was able to run with that momentum. And I was sort of building towards going a little bit earlier. But when Virat got out, it sort of stalled my momentum a little bit. I had to sort of restart a partnership with someone else, let them get into the game. And then I think we lost about 4 wickets in the space of about 5 overs. And it was almost like one every over. So it sort of stalls your momentum again. And it's so hard on that wicket because it's so slow. It's so sort of stoppy and poppy, where it sort of will just pop up at you, and the slower balls are gripping quite a bit, and just made sort of stroke play quite difficult. So that's the thing. When you sort of get into an innings like that, you want to sort of ride with that momentum, and as soon as you lose a wicket at the other end, it sort of just gets taken away from you. You've almost got to start again.
It just looked like every team on that surface in the last couple of games, it's like you can score for maybe the first 12 overs. After that, you're screwed. Just anything you want to do, get it done in the first half.
100%. And I think that was our our thoughts when we were bowled as well. As soon as we got to that sort of midway point, they hadn't killed the game. It's not like they were 110 after 10 overs and they were flying. They were sort of around the run rate, and they just sort of hadn't killed the game. We knew if we got 1 or 2 wickets that it was going to be basically impossible for a new batter to come out and score quickly straight away.
And I suppose with it being Warner as well, you know his game so well and you've played so much with and against him, I suppose, over the years. That's an interesting part of this too, isn't it? That in the IPL and other franchise competitions, you are up against guys who you know the game's all back to front.
Yeah, I've played against Davey ever since my first ever domestic game was against New South Wales at the MCG. And what was that? It was 2008 or 2009. That was 13 years ago. So ever since then, we've played against each other, and his success in the IPL, I think it was something like his 45th 50 or something like that. It's something ridiculous. He's been unbelievable in this tournament, and they rely on him a fair bit at the top of the order. And as soon as we got that big wicket, I think that sort of opened up the game for us. He had a batted probably a few more overs. It would have made it quite difficult for us to get back in the game.
You've been enjoying batting with Virat Kohli a bit. Is that guy as intense in the middle when you're out there with him as he seems? Because you very rarely see eyes like that or facial expressions like that.
He's intense. It's good. You can sort of ride off his, I suppose, intensity out in the ground. But because that's not the way I sort of go about. I like to sort of stay quite relaxed. I'll have a chat with the opposition. I'll try and be low key, keep a smile on my face, and just try and be as calm as possible. And he's polar opposite. He needs to get into the contest. He needs to sort of be up and about, running around and yelling at the top of his voice. And but it's unbelievable to witness. Like, he's an absolute genius, and he's in such good nick at the moment. He's talked about a few times knowing that he's going to get a big score really, really soon. And when he's saying that, it gives the team a lot of confidence, knowing that he knows he's close to making a massive score and winning us the game. So, and when you've got I suppose the length of the order that we have, that's a good thing to hear.
Interesting watching the body language when he was giving you a team talk on the edge of the rope before you went out and fielded yesterday. Like, again, you can tell he's fired up, but I suppose when he's got his national team, they know him well. You know, they've been playing under him for years for India. It might be a bit different, sort of, I suppose, in franchise cricket, where you brought together, you have a couple of weeks, in this case, in hotel quarantine or in the bubble, and away you go. Talk us through that, where you've got someone of his compelling personality, I suppose, and how full on he can be when he's trying to galvanise a group of people who he may not necessarily know that well. I know you've known him quite well, but some of the guys in the team may not necessarily be blokes he's played much with or against over the years.
Yeah, so a guy like Cole Jamieson, who's new to the scene, is probably it's an interesting, I suppose, first IPL for him. He's sort of seen that firsthand. This is as intense as it gets. We've got the captain of India, the big superstar of India, and he's getting exposed to that firsthand. I suppose it's a little bit easier for myself and Dan Christian. We've played with him and against him a fair bit. But for him, it's probably been a bit of an eye-opener, sort of seeing the intensity that he goes about his work. And it's interesting because as intense as he is, I suppose, wanting to win, very boisterous, he's actually incredibly calm and chilled and has his jokes on, like, in and around that as well. So he sort of fluctuates a fair bit, and extremely approachable. That's what I found this tournament, like, really open to ideas, open to suggestions, and happy to sort of go with different plans. So that's something that's really impressed me about him this year.
And I guess the other end of that is like players who you might never have come across before. You know, some of the local players who get their chance. I don't know if you'd come across Harshal Patel before, but someone like him taking 5 wickets in the first game, and you get to be part of this kind of celebratory moment of someone breaking through, you know, an uncelebrated player getting their moment in the spotlight. Yeah,
well, I actually played with Harshal when I played for Delhi a couple of years ago. So it was nice to sort of have that bit of symmetry there. We've sort of been in a few different teams together, and his first game at a new franchise, I think he played for RCB 4 or 5 years ago as well. So he sort of moved around, come back to RCB now, and they've just given him a really specific role. I think much like I suppose teams do around Australia, they give a guy a couple overs at the death, maybe one or two through the middle, and yeah, he's stuck to that. He did it well again last night. Once he used his slow balls into the wicket, they were hard work, and but yeah, he got the rewards. He's got the purple cap now, which all the Indians absolutely love. I think the amount of joy that one cap can give a player is extraordinary. It's not something that we sort of ride, but they're so happy to like have those, I suppose, personal accolades. But it's just not something that I suppose motivates a lot of us. But I think it's something that I suppose means a lot to them.
I saw it growing up, just how much happiness having a no fear cap could bring to some Australians at my high school. So, I think we understand to some degree. Sometimes the hat really matters.
No, I had the Disney World hat. So that was something I was really proud of. Oh no, sorry, it was SeaWorld. I had SeaWorld hat. I've got a photo of that somewhere. I'll have to send that to you guys at some stage.
Killer whales.
I reckon I wore my Anaheim Mighty Ducks hat every single day of the 94-95 summer. I hope it's somewhere in my parents' shed, somewhere like that. Watching you, obviously you were copying so many pelters last year after the IPL. It didn't go as well as you would have liked, but this year, just talk us through the mentality of coming to a new club. And we touched on it last week to an extent, but having gone so well to start with, just like how free you feel at the moment. And really that extends back to the Australian summer, doesn't it? The start of the year, the start of the campaign against India, making quick runs into the Big Bash, feeling as though at the moment you're at the part of your career where, I don't know, maybe some of the baggage that you carried with you historically is now junked and you can feel pretty chilled whenever you go out to bat and just really happy at where you are in your career.
Yeah, I think the work that I've done since I've got out of quarantine here, it's probably led to this, as well as the conversations I've had with Caddo, Sanjay Banga, and Mike Heston as well, just about what I need to do to play a role in this team has been really key. And having that bit of familiarity, having Caddo here, Sanjay was coach of Kings 11 for a few years when I was there. Just having that bit of familiarity, they know me really well.
Yep.
They're able to, I suppose they were able to sort of trust what I was doing in my preparation as well, and just able to have really open conversations about, I suppose, how I was going or how they thought I was going, and just, I suppose, put that into practice. And they've backed me so much, I suppose, ever since the auction. The support that I've got from them has been second to none, and that matters, I suppose, a lot to a player. And it doesn't matter how many IPLs or how many games you play, to have that support from off the field before you've even hit a ball or done anything, it really matters. And I suppose, especially what I've gone through, I suppose, since last IPL, the backlash I probably copped off the back of having a pretty poor year, to, I suppose, have that backing still from these guys has been pretty, like, really special. And I think to start well was, I've just given myself a chance this year. I just went, you know what, I'm actually going to take my time. I'm going to make sure I actually get into the game and give myself a chance to start the tournament well, and not trying to rush anything or trying to force anything. It's just about giving myself an opportunity to actually have an impact on the tournament.
It's a bit like almost any job or industry that people want to feel like those around them or those employing them actually care about what they're doing or actually pay attention. People want to get feedback. They want to feel supported. They want to feel like they're not just doing their job unnoticed. Is it a bit related to that, to feeling sort of cared for, I guess, by those around you at the team?
Yeah, probably a little bit. And also the realization that you can't go through too many IPLs and not score runs and not be successful. So it was almost a bit of now or never as well. And that's probably why I put so much energy and time into preparing for this. And I think last year when I came to the IPL, I was so pumped for it, and probably that over eagerness to try and prove my worth in the team was probably my downfall, and why I've probably gone the other direction this year, and to try and give myself a bit of time. And allow myself the opportunity to actually get into the game. So that comes with getting older and a little bit of maturing and like trying to work out like what the team needs at different times. And I think that helps from playing for the Stars and captaining them as well. That's definitely a helping factor. Like learning the art of like doing what the team needs consistently helps you, I suppose, going forward.
You're up against another senior Australian player in your next game against KKR with Pat Cummins, of course. I was watching an interesting experience watching the Curran brothers go at it the other day. I know it's different with brothers than teammates, but I had this sort of like jarring feeling that if I were playing against my brother, I'd want him to do well more than I'd want myself to do well. I'm not sure if you blokes can identify with that, but at a different level, of course, with teammates rather than siblings. But how is it when you're sort of going out of your way to try and take down a bloke who 99 times out of 100, you're wanting to see him do as well as possible, whether it is his teammates or his friends?
Yeah, well, it's happened against Finchy a few times in the past where I've bowled to him. All I want him to do is get a single and get off strike and just do the job against someone else. Like, that's fine. I want him to have a good game. I want him to be successful and I want him to do well. And but yeah, I suppose when you come up against when you're facing one of your teammates, it's a bit difficult. But you're so focused on the contest, you start to forget the face that's on the bowler. So you just got to concentrate on what's coming down. But especially with a guy like Paddy, geez, we all know he's an absolute superstar. He's the golden boy of Australian cricket, and he's been awesome to start this tournament as well. It's so frustrating because he's so good. knowing that you've got to come up against him, I suppose we're gonna have to do our homework, and I'll try and help out the guys as much as I can. But he's very impressive. He's been awesome for KKR. Even the back end of the last year, he was brilliant. And we're gonna have to have our wits about us, especially on this wicket, because he'll be using his change-ups as well as his extra bit of pace. But I'm looking forward to it, but also not looking forward to it at the same time.
Yep.
The nickname that Pat Cummins ended up with, Winks, named after the racehorse, they're very, very beautiful, high gate, all the rest of it. It's the only clever nickname I think I've ever heard given to an Australian cricketer. Is it? Where did that come from? And is it possible to maybe get a bit more variety other than the sort of Maxi, Finchy, Smithy, Davies sort of reign of things? Because that's all we get at the moment. Where's the Winks coming from?
I don't know where the Winks came from. Great nickname. I'm going to say that was probably Wadey, I reckon. But there's maybe Bison. Bison's probably the closest good one to that. Like that's about it. There's not many good ones. Like, you're right. We actually do need to get a bit more imaginative with our nicknames. It's been pretty poor in the past. But I'm trying to think, what have we got? We got Marnus. We can work with Marnus.
It might be the case by the time you guys arrive in the Australian dressing room that it's almost too late. Like, players are so established with their banal generic nickname that it's too hard to then revert to a more clever nickname. Even Geoff, when you talk about Winks, that's a very inside the beltway nickname. It's not as though he's been called Winks by punters in the grandstand. So I reckon it's something that we need to invest in at the junior level, under 19s at championships. They should be working on
pathways. It's all about nickname pathways.
Yeah. But even Gary, like no one really knows that from anywhere but Australia. Like, it's just one of those weird ones where like Indians will call him Gary, but have no idea why.
To think and Gary, that's a Matty Wade one as well, isn't it? From the very start. To think that a 90, the ornament to the game, Gary Lyon, as he was named back in the 90s, would be the person who Nathan Lyon would be named after by millions of Indian fans. It's totally incongruous, but I guess nice and quirky.
But also, Nathan Lyon is much more famous than Gary Lyon now. So initially you get that sort of nickname because the other person's more famous than you. Yeah, you're Jason Gillespie. Dizzy Gillespie's more famous than you. You get Dizzy Gillespie. But Gary Lyon should be called Nathan, because Nathan is
exactly
definitely more famous than Gary.
Does that mean
it's got it all backwards?
We should start calling Gary Lyon the GOAT.
That's it. We can go full circle on this.
Yeah.
Hey, Maxie, I'm mindful you've got a football game to watch, so we'll wind this up. Before we go, though, just to follow up the theme from last week, you were doing more commercials this week with Virat, having some fun, dancing around and carrying on. When are we going to see them on the screen?
I've actually seen a few of the other teams, and geez, they're poor. They're so bad. But I think ours is probably going to come out in the next week or so. So we've got them rushing back this year, unfortunately, and we're making up for lost time pretty quickly.
Fantastic. Glenn, outstanding last night. We loved watching you go about it and in such a free manner and doing your thing. Player of the match last night. Hopefully plenty more where that came from. And thanks for being our final word IPL correspondent.
Cheers, guys. See you soon. Go Saints.
Cheers, mate.
Go Saints.